This is QTV News with me, Jenna Basonko. Coming up in our headlines, Justice Minister says Gambia not ready to prosecute detained junglers. Q Group Foundation donates 1 million to victims of last week's fire outbreak at the Birkama Market. And 21 participants drawn from social security institutions in Africa gather in the Gambia for a training. Those were our top stories, and now the news in detail. The Gambia is not ready to commence prosecuting the detained junglers, Justice Minister Ba Tambadou told reporters at a press conference on Tuesday in Banjul. The Justice Minister confirms the continuous detention of the junglers who are alleged of committing human rights violation under former President Yahya Jammeh. As Aliou Cisse reports, the minister also delves on other issues, among which is the pending fertilizer scandal involving former Agricultural Minister Omar Jallow.
In his interface with the press at the Justice Ministry in Banjul on Tuesday, Justice Minister Tambadou confirmed that the junglers are still detained awaiting trials. However, he says the government is not ready to prosecute the junglers who have been under custody for far longer than they should be.
On the case of the junglers, again, another difficult question really for us. We will not deny that these junglers have been held for a long time now. They're in detention. They have not yet been brought before a court. It's a challenge for us in terms of dealing with this specific group of people, all of whom in detention have accepted committing very terrible crimes in this country. The dilemma for us at this point, and we're still reviewing their case. I am in constant touch. Very recently, we received a team. I'm not at liberty to mention the team of international experts who came here. We're working on them to find a way forward in this matter. As I said, I can't disclose the organization that is working with us on this at this point. So these cases are not very straightforward. They're very complex, they're very demanding, they require a lot of things. I don't think this country is yet ready to hold trials like this.
Like the junglers?
Yes. I don't think we are yet ready. We're there yet to do so for many other reasons. What's the alternative? Do we just release them back into the society? People who have accepted to committing such heinous crimes? I'm not saying it is right, but I'm also not saying that it's never black or white. And in the case of the junglers, we will admit, there's nothing that we should hide about this. We will admit that they are in detention for far longer than they should be, but it's the circumstance, it's the unique circumstance that we are faced with, which is justifying our actions.
On the TRRC, Justice Tambadou says his office was yet to receive any objection relating to fitness or suitability of any of the nominees as commissioners. The TRRC, he says, is lining up a few witnesses to commence public hearings soon after the launch. Commenting on the Jammeh Commission looking into the financial dealings of former President Jammeh, Ba Tambadou says the commission is now approaching the end of its sittings, and the commission has already started working on a draft report which will be presented to the president. Regarding the forensic examinations, Justice Tambadou says the government is still awaiting confirmation of the forensic examination tests on the presumed bodies of Solos Sandeng, Njaga Jany, Lamin Sane, and Alhaji Jaja Nyas. The results, he says, will be received soon for the bodies to be returned to their families for decent burial. On the reported torture at the Mile Central Prison, he says his ministry is looking into the reports.
I have heard reports of this allegation. We are looking into it. So far, the initial response by the prison authorities is a denial that it didn't take place, that no one was tortured. And the suggestion is even that medical examinations could be conducted.
There has been reports of massive corrupt practices within the government's institutions by government officials. In a bid to fight corruption, an anti-corruption commission bill has been drafted, and according to the minister, the draft bill is being reviewed for submission to cabinet before submission to the National Assembly for enactment before the end of the year. On the pending report of the fertilizer scandal involving the former Agriculture Minister Omar A. Jallow, he says his office has reviewed the file and sent the case to the police for further investigation.
In terms of the fertilizer case, yes, there has been progress. We have reviewed the file, completed it, and sent the case to the police with a request for them to investigate further. and with some guidance on the areas that they should investigate, with specific questions that they should address as part of their investigations. Because let's not forget that there are different requirements for investigation, different standards of proof that is required for different investigations. The investigations that we received was insufficient for criminal purposes. So we have sent out the file with our views and our suggestions in terms of how they can investigate this matter properly to enable us make a determination as to whether any criminal offense has been committed and by who, and whether we should proceed with the prosecution of the matter.
However, the minister won't respond on the issue surrounding contract between the government and SEMLEX to issue the national ID cards. Many Gambians are not happy with the government for awarding the contract to SEMLEX, which is currently under investigation.
No, I will not elaborate on that issue. I have, I think, given several issues on that point. I think we have other things that we can also address. So if you just crave if I just crave your indulgence to excuse me from addressing that, because it's a matter that comes up every time, and I've addressed it. There's, even in court, there's what's called finality to litigation. So I have addressed this issue comprehensively, and that's all I have to say about it. I can't add anything further on that.
The major focus of the ministry for 2019 will be on prison, electoral, and criminal justice legislative reforms. In encouraging a culture of tolerance and the freedom of expression like in any democracy, the minister says this must not be equated with chaos or be used as an opportunity to tarnish the reputation of or semi-innocent people. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Following the recent fire outbreak at the Brikama market that destroyed 36 shops, QTV revisited the scene to see what have changed, if any, for the victims. Last week's inferno left many shops burned down, leaving owners with virtually nothing.
Following the recent fire outbreak at the Brikama market that destroyed 36 shops, QTV went to meet the victims to see how their lives have changed. Malambi Bojang, Secretary Brikama Market Committee, said that when the fire disaster happened, the governor of West Coast Region and the CEO of Brikama Area Council had been at Tendaba at the time, but they cut short their engagement and came back to Brikama to show solidarity with the fire victims. He further disclosed that Brikama Area Council also sent a truck to remove wreckage and a team of assessors to evaluate the extent of the damage and the losses incurred. The figures are staggering.
And after the assessment, we realized that the damage went to around $12,757,325. So this is why, and this is an estimate of it, but most of them said that they cannot give the exact figure. No, all of them has got their figures.
Even though he was appreciative of the council's effort, he was quick to expose what he said was some of their failings.
The disappointment that we have is they have their security in the market, but the security were unable to realize that there was fire outbreak until people had to call them and inform them. Had it been the security were on the ground or were they were going around the market, they are patrolling the market. Had been there patrolling the market, the fire may, I believe the fire may not reach this extent.
The PRO of the Brikama Market Committee, Bakari Cham, said that the market lacks security at night, making it vulnerable to potential mishaps. The area council provides security only during the day, but not at night. Even 5 officers can guard this market overnight, and they should have a shift pattern for day and night. They are paid and should do that. Pamodu Bojang, a vendor who said he had lost almost $500,000, couldn't hide his frustration with the area council and the government. From the government side, no one has come here to give us hope. We are just destitute and sitting here like that. I am convinced that if a government minister's house had been on fire, the government would have sent someone there. Another market vendor, Fatou Cisse, appeals for help. those who should help us, the area council and the government, please help us in the name of God. We all have families, and since the fire incident, nothing has happened. Things are very hard for us. Frustration is mounting daily for those vendors. Still, in spite of the devastation to their livelihoods, they have not lost faith in God. In solidarity, they raise their hands up in prayer to the Almighty, hopeful that something good will emerge from the misfortune soon. For QTV News, I am Babukar Sise.
The IPRO of the Gambia Police Force, ASP Njai, and his counterparts at the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services visited the Birkama market that was ravaged by fire. As Babukar Sise reports, the visit was followed by a press briefing on the preliminary findings regarding the cause of the fire.
The Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Police Force, Assistant Superintendent Lamin Jai, and personnel of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services visited the Birkama market that was ravaged by fire. The purpose was to conduct a press briefing on what their preliminary findings had revealed about the cause of the fire.
As we speak today, preliminary investigation reports reveal that about 36 shops have been burned down, and these shops contain various commodities ranging from clothing, footwears, and so on and so forth. And because of this, today we are here to update the general public, to tell the general public that the Gambia Police Force, in collaboration with the Fire and Rescue Service, has established the cause of the fire. And basically the cause of the fire is mainly as a result of electric short circuit and related causes.
Pate Jiba, the Public Relations Officer of the Gambia Fire and Rescue Services, says the fire officers did their utmost to put out the fire, but not without constraints, which both the government and the council need to address.
If the market is designed and developed in such a way that stalls are everywhere around the passageways and also the vehicle pathway, then and therefore firefighting measures cannot be effective. We need better fire appliances, and that is supposed to be a signal that central government and the council should work towards making sure that taxpayers' monies are utilized in the best way. Of course, yes, when we see this place here, it is generating revenue for the taxpayers, for the people, generating revenue for the people. But of course, when we have our stalls installed around the turnabout, around the places where the fire service need to go in and maneuver, I wonder the kind of revenue generation that would be, because instead of generating revenue, we may be losing our lives and property.
The Assistant Chief Fire Officer for Kanifing Municipality and West Coast Region, Samba Jacob Jata, said safety issues have previously been raised by the Fire and Rescue Service but were ignored by the Birkama Area Council.
In most cases, at times I used to call the governors, the chairman of the Birkama Area Council, that let's take note of the access roads. Let's respect the access roads. We cannot only concentrate on collecting revenues. We have to also, take care of protecting the people who are giving us those revenues. In fact, the market, whereas it is constructed, fire service needs also to be invited to come and inspect. But these inspections are not taking place. People don't adhere to, advices. Just look at the way the stalls are constructed. It's very unprofessional. I don't know who is the professional who, give them this plan. And my next advice goes to the government of the day. Fire service, the equipments needed for us to be responding to such emergencies are not in place. They are not in place. We are therefore requesting from the government to invite the fire service, and we tell them what we need so as to be able to protect the properties and lives and properties of the people who are paying those taxes.
Malandin B. Jabang agrees that the fire service lacks equipment but strongly disagreed with the Assistant Chief Fire Officer's claim that there are water hydrants buried around the Birkama market. According to Mr. Jabang, there is not a single hydrant installed at the market. He also denied Fire and Rescue Services PRO's allegation that there are no access roads to the market. For QTV News, I am Babukar Sise.
The Q Group Foundation Tuesday donated $1 million to victims of last week's fire outbreak at the Birkama market at a presentation ceremony at the Birkama Area Council head office. The event was presided over by the Governor of West Coast Region, Member of Parliament for Birkama North, victims amongst others. QTV's Ansumana S. Onyasi was there, and he files in this report.
following last week's devastating fire outbreak that ravaged 35 stores at the Brikama market. The Q Group Foundation Tuesday donated $1 million to victims as part of an initiative to support the Brikama Market Relief Fund. The gesture was meant to help rejuvenate their businesses, and it was well received by victims and local government authorities within the West Coast region. In his welcome statement, the chairman of Brikama Area Council, Sirifo Sonko, thanked the Q Group for the laudable and timely initiative. He said since the incident occurred last week, the council has been appealing for support from government and philanthropists.
It is my honor to preside over the donation to the disaster people, disaster victims of the Brikama market. I want to take this opportunity to thank a Q Group for this laudable gesture. May Allah reward all of you.
For his part, the CEO of Q Group, Mohamed Jah, said he learned of the shocking incident on the news and thought there was a need to act fast. He said the disaster destroyed entrepreneurial lives and hence the need for concerted efforts to help the victims.
This all happened last week when I was watching QTV News. I think you all saw it. We had the news on this disaster which has happened in the market. QTV came and we did a very good coverage on it. And I happened to sit in my house and I saw the news and I was very shocked of what has happened in the market. I found out from the television that 35 stalls were burned down and all their merchandise was burned to ashes. It was a very sad day for us at the Q Group, and I believe the entire nation, as it did not only destroy materials and equipment, but this disaster attempted to destroy entrepreneurial lives.
Mr. Jah said the donation is not an act of charity or an investment for any form of return in terms of clientele, and therefore urged the victims to be patient during these trying moments. He said a temporary bank account called the Brikama Market Disaster Relief Fund has been opened at Ajib Bank to facilitate the rebuilding and renovation of their stores. He urged anyone willing to support the victims to make their donations through the account.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, my action here is not an act of charity, nor an act of business. Two areas that the Q Group Foundation is very well known for. We do a lot of charity and we're into business. You know that we have a lot of businesses, from QCell to Ajib to Naturel to a lot of businesses, QTV. But today we are not doing business here and we are not coming to give you charity.
Speaking earlier, the governor of West Coast Region, Bakari S. Sanyang, expressed his delight at the timely intervention of the Q Group Foundation. He said the fire outbreak was a painful experience that left a huge scar on the business life of vendors affected. He said his office never approached the Q Group for support in the wake of the fire outbreak, but they took the initiative and acted out of patriotism.
There are no enough words I can say to thank Mr. Jah and his group for coming up to your rescue. You may wish to know that we never approached Mr. Jah. It was Mr. Jah who approached us, as he just mentioned in his speech, after seeing what happened on the news. And it's his idea that we should try and bring everybody in. And there was nothing we could do other than endorse that idea as the regional governor and also as the chairman of the National Disaster Committee of West Coast Region.
Governor Sanyang said government through the council and his office are already galvanizing efforts to assist the victims. He, however, advised the vendors to take precautions and ensure their businesses are registered. In her statement, the coordinator of disaster relief services for West Coast Region, Bintasi Jalama, applauded the Q Group for their timely intervention, saying the provision of disaster management and relief services should be everybody's business.
Here, the initiative by the Q Group here is very welcome, because we have seen the initiative taken by the Q Group, and Q Group is here as a private sector. This is part of one of their social corporate responsibility, and the CEO, being a Gambian, has manifested being a real patriotic Gambian who is here for his people, not only for his business, but for the Gambia as a country.
While enjoining the victims to closely work with the council, Madam Jalama said disaster response should be dignified. She also implored vendors to work with insurance companies and have their businesses registered, as this will help them in case of a recurrence. Speaking on behalf of the victims, Mamadou Bojang thanked the Q Group for coming to their aid. He said when the incident happened, QTV was the first to arrive at the scene, and thanks to their coverage, the world is aware of their plight. In the aftermath of the devastating fire outbreak, these men and women left the scene with shattered hopes and possibilities of rejuvenating their businesses appearing to be a far-fetched reality. But thanks to the Q Group Foundation, through the CEO Mohamed Jah, their tears and worries have been substituted with smiles and joy. For QTV News, I am Ansumana Isonyasi.
The West Africa Democracy Radio, a sub-regional radio station based in Dakar, Senegal, is organizing a 2-day training at a local hotel in Kololi for radio journalists on professional production techniques and reporting on irregular migration. Omar Jallo attended the opening and he now reports.
With support from the German Federal Office, West Africa Democracy Radio, WADR, today begins a 2-day training program as part of the activities under the project, using radio to curb irregular migration. The training is part of WADR's efforts to build the capacities of journalists from its partner radio stations to improve their reporting on irregular migration by West African youth and the attendant consequences on the communities and countries at large. Under this project, WADR will train journalists and orientate station managers in the partner radio stations in the target countries of the Gambia, Ghana, Mali and Niger. Mrs. Agnes Tomasi works with WADR.
The reason we are working with migration, if you were here in the beginning during my statement, I said we work on developmental issues. WADR wants to give West Africans the opportunity to speak to West Africans themselves. We want to provide that opportunity, and we are providing that opportunity where people from the ground level will talk to people up, and those up will also go down, it will filter down. And if we do that, no subject is out of our control.
The Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Ibrahim Silla, reiterated government's commitment to creating the enabling environment for media practitioners to operate freely and efficiently.
As journalists, your role is critical here. I mean, the government has a duty of care. I mean, each year, Gambia government puts aside a budget. That's supposed to help young people, that's supposed to help communities, farmers, and also that's supposed to take care of a whole lot of things. We call it development budget. Now, the media, as Sirif said, cannot necessarily provide jobs for people. But what you can do is to ensure that you scrutinize. I mean, migration cannot be devoid from scrutinizing government activities, cannot be devoid from scrutinizing even government budget and the way government budgets are spent, what we call transparent and accountable management of public funds.
The president of the Gambia Press Union, Sirif Bojang, spoke at length about the importance of building the capacities of journalists in production and reporting on critical issues affecting our society.
You have a lot of Gambian journalists who receive every single month, there is a training. You receive certificates, you train. But if we are honest to ourselves, most of the time these trainings hardly reflect on the input, on what we broadcast, on what we write. The standard of the trade in this country is embarrassing. And this is because trainings have become social events now. People go training. I hope you take note of that. People go training 2 days. One day they go in 3 days. The second day they disappear. The last day they come because there will be envelopes. And at the GPU level, what we're discussing and which will not be popular with a lot of you and a lot of our members is the fact that we want to discourage these paid trainings.
A human rights activist and representative of civil society organizations in the Gambia, Madi Jobate, says migration is a fundamental human right for any person who wishes to migrate. He therefore called on journalists to be cautious of the international, regional and sub-regional laws and treaties when reporting on migration. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
A 3-day training for 21 participants drawn from social security institutions in Africa is underway at a local hotel in Kololi, organized by the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation in collaboration with the International Social Security Association. The training is focused on good governance, strategic planning, and risk management. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Ahmed Bamba, Liaison Officer for West Africa thanked the Gambian government for hosting this 3-day workshop, stressing that the theme good governance, strategic planning and risk management is important for social security management.
The topic of good governance, strategic planning and risk management is of paramount importance for our social security institution, which face many challenges, including the achievement of excellence in resource management. Our states concerned about the well-being of the population have undertaken important reform in the ESA in our capacity of a United Nations branch in charge of social security issues as the mission to support them.
Janine Mas, member of the International Social Security Association Center for Excellence and the workshop manager, gave a presentation on the International Social Security Association.
So the ISA is the International Social Security Association, and it's a member organization. So we have 323 members from all over the world, and it's mainly social security administrations. We also have what we call them associate members. That's organizations that deal with social protection, for example, a ministry, and they can also become a member. Administrations from 153 countries. The ISA was founded in 1927 under the wings of the ILO, the International Labour Organization in Geneva. We work with 17 liaison officers and focal points like Mr. Bamba. They come from our member institutions and they represent the ISA in their region. And I'm very thankful to Mr. Bamba. He did a fantastic job. And it's not the first time, I know. In Geneva, where I work, we have a staff of 42 people, so we cannot achieve anything without the help of our members.
Also speaking at the opening ceremony, Lamin Camara, Permanent Secretary Minister of Finance, said that the workshop is in line with the Gambia's National Development Plan.
In the Global South, the Gambia included most of the workforce consists of workers in the informal economy, the largest of it in agriculture. These workers aren't adequately covered by public measures and often rely on informal support mechanisms. Subsequently, they constitute the most vulnerable sector of society and are often susceptible to consequences of economic, social, and environmental shocks. The lack of effectual policies to mitigate these shocks has led to a myriad of crises, including food insecurity and the mass migration of sub-Saharan African youth to the EU through the Mediterranean. That being said, the government of the Gambia recognizes social protection as an essential component of effective national development strategy that combines inclusive economic growth and basic social service assistance provision.
He further explained that the government of the Gambia recognizes the importance of this theme and the important role played by the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation in providing social security and protection for the majority. Before we end this news bulletin, we recap our main stories. The Gambia is not ready to commence prosecuting the detained junglers, Justice Minister Batambedu told reporters at a press conference on Tuesday in Banjul. The Justice Minister confirms the continuous detention of the junglers who are alleged of committing human rights violation under former President Yahya Jammeh. The Q Group Foundation Tuesday donated $1 million to victims of last week's fire outbreak at the Birkama Market at a presentation ceremony held at the Birkama Area Council head office. The event was presided over by the Governor of the West Coast Region, Member of Parliament for Birkama North, victims amongst others. And a 3-day training for 21 participants drawn from social security institutions in Africa is underway at a local hotel in Kololi. organized by the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation in collaboration with the International Social Security Association. The training is focused on good governance, strategic planning, and risk management. That is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Do join us tomorrow, same time for more news. And do stay tuned for more interesting programs. Thank you for your company.